All right, let's call this meeting of the Environmental Protection Committee to order at, we are at 1:19 on April 21st, 2026. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Legislator Garland? Here. Legislator Kelly?
Here.
Legislator Thompson?
Here.
Legislator Meeker?
Here.
First up, would be the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections or objections to those? Seeing none, those are approved. After that, our first item for today is a presentation from the Onondaga County Soil and Water Conservation District. We have Mark Berger here to give us an overview and a presentation. So thank you for coming, Mark, and I'll let you take it away.
My pleasure, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having us here today. Just a quick who we are, what we do. Sometimes pictures tell 1,000 words. So we're one of 58 soil and water conservation districts across New York State. The first district was formed in 1940 in Schoharie County. We were formed or adopted by the Onondaga County Board of Supervisors in 1944. The boroughs of New York City are one soil and water district, and that's how we end up at 58. We were formed in 1944, roughly 500,000 acres of land, and 1/5 of that acreage is in agriculture. 295 farms in our state agricultural environmental management program, and agriculture has been steadily our 14th largest employer. So our vision is to live in a society in which all of our generations will have natural resources to sustain and enrich their life. Our mission is to promote the wise use of those resources. And our purpose is we are the only agency in the county able to administer and apply the state's agricultural environmental management program to address non-point sources of pollution from agriculture. Our staff has 112 years of total combined experience. We have 12 and a half staff people. 3 of them are state agricultural planners. 3 of them are the survey, design, build implementers. 6 have erosion and sediment control certifications. Our planners.
Oh, that's not good.
Plumber.
Young Dave Knapp in that photo, it looks like.
Sure was. Sure was. You need to update some of those.
That's right. So I'm going to do it on my computer instead. Let's do the mic.
Sorry, I promise.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, it still works somehow. Computer is busted, so that's a...
If not, while they're doing that, I just had a question. When you say we're the only county implementing, is that by choice?
Well, we're the department in the county that implements that agricultural environmental management program.
I'm just going to try. See if it works.
We have 4 folks with forestry backgrounds. Sorry?
No.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, perfect. 2 stream technicians, 4 of our employees are certified pesticide applicators, so we do a lot of that with our forestry related work, and we have a 7-person board of directors. I am blessed to have 2 boards to report to, so we also administer and have for 32 years the City of Syracuse's Watershed Ag Program, and they have their own Watershed Ag Program Review Committee, and so that's our technical committee that reviews projects in the Skinny Atlas Lake watershed. If they're recommended for approval, they roll forward the next month to the district board meeting, and it's the district board that releases the funding for those projects. We do a lot with volunteers. We support a lot of our local academic learning institutions. And we're very proud of that and have had very successful results. And some of those folks have become full-time employees with us. There's 6 main watersheds in Onondaga County, and we work in all those main watersheds. But I want you to focus on Skinny Atlas Lake, Atisco Lake, and the Cuyahoga River, which flows to the Chesapeake Bay. Those are our 3 most funded watersheds in the county. And places like Seneca River, Oneida Lake, especially Oneida Lake watershed, are our most underfunded watersheds in the county. And frequently farmers in those watersheds come to us and say, how do I get funding to do what my counterparts in the Finger Lakes watershed get funding for? We want to be a good steward of the land as well. Our workload is half agriculture, invasive species management on both land and water comprise a quarter of our work, and then stormwater management, critical area revegetation, and stream bed and bank stabilization. The stream work is 2% because it's very technical, very expensive, and it's really hard to get funding for. And we partner with just about everybody who wants to partner with us. The reason you have a soil and water district essentially in this county is because of Book 52B, Soil and Water District Law. That allows us to go off the public right-of-ways onto private property and be able to plan and implement best management practices to protect water quality. And what we do, we meet the farmers and we meet them right on their land, right on their space. So typically we're working off the hood of a pickup truck, we're working out of their kitchen table, and that's where we come up with our conservation plans. That's where the walks of their farm, documenting their stewardship occurs, etc. And what we do is we take situations like you see on the left where we've got a highly denuded barnyard. We put in practices like a covered barnyard, roof water management, revegetation, rotational grazing system to help make sure that we've got vegetation there to help filter the water and keep the nutrients in the soil. We do things like helping farmers get cows out of streams. It's very easy to let the cows get the drink themselves, but it's not the best because they'll defecate in the water. So we put fence up to exclude them from the water courses. We provide alternative water supplies for them, and then Mother Nature and Father Time takes over the rest and rebuilds that vegetative buffer that we want to see around all the streams. Cover cropping is huge. In the fall, when you're driving around, you see a cornfield with a lot of green in it. That's your cover crop. It's on there to help keep the nutrients in the soil on the land, and the water clean. We consistently do and fund over 10,000 acres of cover crops with our farms on an annual basis. Buffers are a huge thing, especially in our Finger Lakes watersheds. Land is selling for $30,000 an acre. Our farmers are competing one-for-one with the developers, but sometimes people say, why don't we have more buffers? Why aren't there bigger buffers? Every ounce of land that a farmer owns really needs to produce something. So if we want bigger, better buffers, we're going to have to really pay for it. But they do make an awful big difference in terms of water quality. When you fly into Syracuse, I'm sure all of you have noticed this. This is a textbook stamp of our central New York region. It's our strip cropping. So you know we have a lot of hills and slopes in our agricultural communities. And so when you see the green, that's fields of hay and alfalfa. When you see the brown, that's corn or soybeans. And so we rotate and intersperse strips of those crops on the land so that we can break up the slope, reduce the erosion, help to keep the soil on the land and the water clean. Stream bank stabilization, like we've talked, is really big. It's a great opportunity, but it's very technical, very expensive. This is part of the 1.2 miles of stream bank work we did 20 years ago down in Onondaga Creek. So you can see on the left, the stream is hitting the bank of the slope. It's grabbing a lot of soil, taking it downstream, ultimately to Onondaga Lake. What we did is we put in tow protection, and then we gave the stream a floodplain to reach into, and then we revegetated it with trees and shrubs. And I should go get a picture 20 years later. That site looks tremendously different and stable. Another example, this is Route 20 in Pompey. This is Fabius Brook coming down. And you see the stream, the energy of the stream hitting the bank of the cornfield. What we did is we put in-stream structures in to put the energy of the water back in the center of the stream. We put tow protection in on the outward bank and then replanted it with trees and shrubs that will grow well in those wet conditions to help hold that stream bank in place. So our staff is emergency stream intervention certified. So what that means is when the big one hits Onondaga County, our highway departments can call us. We can go out and we can establish the reference reaches for their streams and tell them how wide and how deep and how much they need to excavate to get the stream flowing again, to get the road infrastructure uh, through those areas back and working again. And we can expedite permits with the DEC, and that's one of the biggest saving graces in these situations. We do an awful lot of revegetation. We do over 50 miles of road ditch hydroseeding a year. So as the highway departments go through and clean those ditches, we're right behind them, putting hydromulch down that has seed in it and tactifier, which holds that seed and mulch to the stream bank, gets the vegetation growing again, so it filters the water that's flowing in those ditches. We also, on the upper left, just took delivery of a mini hydroseeder. We do veteran cemetery every spring, and that's going to allow us to do an even better job of finite work around the cemetery stones and be most respectful. We just took delivery of that straw blower in the upper right-hand corner, and that's it getting used 2 weekends ago on a job site. So in those remote areas where we can't get the 800-gallon hydroseeder in, we can get the straw blower in and do hand seeding and still get vegetation established. We do a lot of stormwater management related services. So we inspect over 400 outfalls for Onondaga County. We help with the data management. We prepare the 2 preliminary 6-month reports that go on to the Office of Environment for completion. We participate in complaint investigation. Just got one of those driving down from the town of Salina. Think there's oil in a catch basin heading to a stream. So we also do good housekeeping presentations to various county departments. We teach a 4-hour, the New York State DEC 4-hour erosion and sediment control class to contractors and codes officers and engineers and architects. We've been doing that for over 16 years, and we've taught over 4,300 students this class. It's part of our earned income program, and it's actually made us better at our jobs, because if you teach it, you got to know it and you got to apply it. Our tree and shrub sale just completed last weekend, and we had a tremendous response. It's the second year of a really tremendous response. People want to plant trees and shrubs and put bird habitat up, and so that's been very successful. The project down on the lower right-hand side, the campers are in Oneida Shores County Park, and to the right of those campers is where the pickup trucks park with the boat trailers. And so it's a nice visual buffer with some of that Stremco willow that was planted there. It's a dwarf variety of willow. It bushes out, it doesn't regenerate itself, and it makes a nice windbreak, it makes nice wildlife habitat, and it's really nice at providing a visual barrier in situations like a campground. Emerald Ash Borer Program, we have been administering this program for over 10 years for the county. So we first off started with the inventory and then the management plan, and then marking out the removals and bidding those removals out in the winter to our tree contractors. In the spring, we're doing tree planting. Basically, my whole office is out today doing tree planting right now. And on the lower left, you see one of our technicians doing a certified pesticide injection to an ash tree to help. It's in a park because it provides a high function of shade and stormwater management and all those other related values. We also do hemlock woolly adelgid treatment, and so we work on large tracts of land, typically our land that our farmers or other large landowners have. You see in the center a basal bark application of a pesticide going on to help protect those hemlocks. And one of the important things about the hemlocks is they grow in the ravines, especially at the south end of the county. And if we lose the hemlocks, we're going to lose the ravines and the water quality. Those roots of the hemlocks are holding all the soil together and in place, so it keeps it from going into the streams and down into our lakes, helps to protect water quality. So it's really good work. We also are doing tree risk assessments for municipalities. This is, I believe, the Village of Liverpool, and so we help identify which trees are at risk and when they should come out of the growing equation, and then talk and plan for replanting of trees in the community as well. Water chestnuts is what I spend my whole summer doing, especially on the Seneca River system. We have a summer crew that hand pulls the water chestnuts. We just opened bids yesterday for mechanical harvesting. This will be our second year of doing chemical application through a private contractor, and we work with private landowners and associations to help them remove their chestnuts as well. We've got big trucks and trailers and other resources to support their efforts.
On the water chestnuts, there's a cyclical nature to it, right? Where are we in that cycle?
That is a great question. So this is our 11th field season, and for the last 2 years, we have noticed a decline in the number of stems and the density of the stems growing in the Seneca River system. I didn't want to say anything 2 years ago because if it was an anomaly,
Right.
it wasn't going to be good. But our contractors are saying, Mark, it's really starting to work. But these plants are pervasive. They reproduce. One nutlet can produce 300 new stems. And so they've really got the upper hand. We just have to be persistent and focused in our attack on them.
Good.
The road salt programs, we've done a lot of road salt management programs with regional planning and cooperative extension and state DOT. And we've done a lot of salt application truck calibration clinics. But the latest tool in the toolbox is these live edge blades. You see on the right, there's 12-inch sections and they can move up and down as opposed to a straight 12-foot blade. And so it works really good in most settings. There are some areas like City of Syracuse with manhole covers or some of our country roads with bridge joints where these blades have not been 100% perfected yet. But for probably 75% of our highway departments, they've been a real successful tool in terms of getting a better scrape on the road. When you get a better scrape, you put down less salt and sand, and so it's been a tremendous savings across the board for our highway departments.
Just while you're still on that, is there
Sure.
any movement towards salt alternatives that you're seeing among municipalities in the county?
We have not heard that because of the state regulations on ice and snow-free roads. So we think the state's going to have to take the first lead on that, and then it'll trickle down because of the legalities.
Mhm.
We are the only soil and water district in New York State to have an agricultural spill response program. Agriculture is like any other industry. Accidents can happen, and all this is made with human hands. And so we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to go and assist our farmers and our fire departments and other first responders with spill response. Some years there's no spills. Some years there can be up to 6 spills. But it's been a real successful program for helping to protect water quality. And notice the fertilizer that's on the right-hand side. A bolt broke in a wagon hauling fertilizer. The farmer didn't know it till a few miles down the road. Being a volunteer fireman, we love to get out there with the fire truck, spray the water, but if we did that, we'd put all those nutrients in a road ditch, send it right down to our lakes, and continue other water quality problems. So our newest tool is on the right, thanks to Senator, now Congressman Mannion. It's a super vac street sweeper. And so in the old days, I used to be able to call state DOT, and this fellow was great. He'd load up a street sweeper, bring it out, sweep the streets, put the fertilizer back in the farmer's shop, and he changed jobs. And so for a few years, we had nothing. Worked with Senator Mannion at the time, and he got his funding for that street sweeper in the building that it's housed in. And so this will be our first season having a sweeper available to help collect any fertilizer spills in the community. That'll be paramount to helping to protect water quality. We help the county emergency management department get their large animal and small animal response teams off the ground a number of years ago, and we're one of the most successful programs now in the state of New York. We're part of the county's Emergency Management Disaster Preparedness Committee and our Emergency Operations Center. We're part of the public sector liaison, so our jobs are to support the highway departments when they need it, and also to support the agricultural industry to make sure that they can keep producing food for us 3 times a day, even during the worst weather events. We rent conservation equipment, and it's been so successful, we no longer rent a no-till drill. We put ourselves out of business there, but our farmers like the equipment so much. This is funded out of the city of Syracuse. They like the equipment so much that they went out and bought their own equipment. So now we only maintain that small no-till seeder at the lower left-hand corner, and typically our smaller farms are leasing that. Envirothon, our kids are our future. They're going to be sitting here at these tables making important decisions in the future, doing my job, doing my staff's job. So we need to keep these young folks, our 9th through 12th graders, interested and exciting in the environmental opportunities, and we do that through supporting Envirothon. It's an environmental education competition across New York State, and then if you win at the state level, you can go on to the national level and then the international competitions. And we've had some tremendous participation in that over the years. Technical assistance, we provided it all to all. People call, there's flooding, there's drainage issues, there's erosion. Just got a call from the town of Salina. Hey, we need help on this catch basin that might have some oil in it heading to a stream. So we're always available for whoever needs us in our areas of expertise. Agriculture in New York is something in Onondaga County in particular, is something to be really proud of. These are our statistics. To be in the top 4% for total pounds of milk produced of all dairy producing counties in the United States is impressive. To be recognized as a farm-friendly community, top 10% of best places to farm in the United States, that's awesome. And the county's agricultural council has really helped to bolster our agricultural producers. And I know a lot of the work we do, we showed those best management practice pictures, the before and afters. We couldn't have done it without the support of the county's ag council. So we're very grateful for their support and participation in what we do as well. I can tell you, you have great farms doing great things in the community, but when we nominate these farms and we put it up to a statewide or a national peer review committee and they agree with us, that's testament that you have great farms in the community. And so these are 3 of the farms that have won the state's Aldo Leopold Conservation Award here just in Onondaga County over the last 20-some years. So real impressive producers. These folks do great work, and they're real mentors in their community to other agricultural producers. And then at the national level, we've had 2 farms that have been recognized with the U.S. Dairy Sustainability Awards. One's McMahon's Easy Acres, which is in the southern end of the Skinny Atlas Lake watershed, and one is in Skinny Atlas, Young's Twin Birch Dairy. So real impressive producers, and again, all of us working together make these great success stories. Our work doesn't happen alone in a vacuum, et cetera. It takes all of these sources of funding and partners. And again, the city and Aqua and WAP and County Farmland Protection Board and the Ag Council, emergency management, everybody working together is what really makes our work happen. Our funding, people often ask, where's your money come from? And so we live and die by the grants. And so 36% of our funding comes from state grants, 2% from federal grants. Our contract with the city of Syracuse over the last 32 years to administer their ag program. The work we do for Onondaga County, like water chestnuts, et cetera. And then we do some earned income work, and we have a few other local sources that are much smaller that we tap into. The thing that I'm really proud of is last year, I'm super competitive. I like to get 100% of the grants we apply for. Last year, we fell just below the 50% mark, and it really bothered me. We still brought in, bless you, $2.6 million of grant funds. And so for every dollar of funding the county has invested in us, we've been able to return $14.66. So we're really proud of that, and that's one of our strengths, and every member of our staff are grant writers, and it shows. One of the other components that we're proud of is the money that comes into our organization. A lot of that money goes right back out. Last year, we supported over 220 local businesses with the funding that came through our doors, and so we're part of the ripple in the pond. We're part of the economic engine in the community. Few thoughts that I want to leave you with. There's 2 million farmers across the United States, and they make up 1.3% of the labor force in the employed population. So these folks are the ones that are feeding us 3+ times a day, and we need to be very grateful for their hard work and dedication. Oftentimes I hear people say, geez, you know, those farmers can go out and do anything they want. Nobody's watching over them. One of my farmers said, I beg to differ, and we sat down and put this table together. When you look at Onondaga County in central New York, there's over 21 different groups that have some say in what those farmers do each morning when they get up, tie their boots on, and walk out the door to go to work. And sometimes I hear people say, geez, you know, just a stupid farmer. Well, I think farmers are one of the smartest group of people walking this planet. There's over 26 different types of business people wrapped up in being a farmer. And one of the newest is being a robotics engineer. So we really owe a lot to our farmers for everything they need to know and everything they do on a daily basis. And with that, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions, or we can open it up?
I just didn't want to jump in.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to point out that I have the pleasure of working with Mark. I serve on the Soil and Water Conservation Board alongside Legislator Bush. I've only known him for a couple of months, but I can speak to the important work that he's doing and just how much I've learned from you in the past 2 to 3 months in this capacity. There are a couple of things I would like to touch on. I reached out to you to ask about Onondaga Lake and the situation with the contamination of mercury discovered in the marina with the recent construction project. I know I reached out to you only recently. We talked a little bit offline that you haven't been able to get much feedback from the DEC, but I wonder if you could speak to that issue, because that's something that's definitely pressing within my district. And as I say, where I live, I can see the marina from my kitchen window. So can you speak to that situation, your understanding of it? We'll start very broadly first, and then we'll drill down to the extent that we can.
Sure. We were part of the Onondaga Lake Watershed Partnership for many years, and our work was in the headwaters region, if you will, with the farmers and the rural landowners. But being at those meetings, I remember the discussions about the contamination, and when the Marina Enhancement Project was about to kick off, and we support that project with the stormwater inspections, erosion control inspections on a weekly basis. It should have probably resonated with me that there would have been the potential for some migration of contaminants to be in those areas, especially, you know, it gets into those slow moving embayments where the marina is. It would make sense that it could be a deposition zone. So I guess in some ways not surprised, but I know it was quite a bit removed from the major focus areas early on.
Would you be able to speak to, in the reporting from April 2nd on the discovery of the mercury, says that there's no direct threat to the population. Can you speak to the seriousness of finding mercury in the marina there? How concerned should people be, and in what respect?
Just last night, there was a television program at the national level, and it's about the bioaccumulation in the aquatic organisms, and every organism participates in the food chain, and being at the top of the food chain and eating the fish that consume all the other organisms in the water supply, it does make sense. And so everybody is focused on the bioaccumulation and the potential for us to ingest the mercury. From my understanding, there was quite an amount of natural encapsulation, if you will, just the natural amount of sediment in the water, not suspending out, but settling out through gravity, that probably contributed to encapsulating that mercury to a point that it may have been less of a concern on the north or east end than it was on the south/west side. I am very happy to reach out to our counterparts and get more of that information for you.
I do appreciate that, and I don't want you to be on the spot and have to answer for all of this, but you know more about this by leagues than I do. So I know that also right now the talk is that the proposed solution involves removing some of the sediment from the basin and also capping with gravel and sand, similar to what was done more broadly throughout the lake and the remediation of the lake. Can you speak to that process about how that can improve the environment in the marina?
I think anytime we can get the contaminants out of the system, it's a win for everybody.
Mhm.
But I'm certainly, that definitely is not my area of expertise.
Fair enough.
But I certainly can follow up and get more information to, back to you through folks who know a lot more and spend their days, solely working on those type of topics.
Okay. And when that soil is removed, in terms of storage, in terms of, and again, if this is outside the purview of your expertise, don't feel like you have to be the expert on this, but in terms of dealing with it once it's out of the lake, what are best practices there that we need to be aware of?
Encapsulation is what's been used in the past, and I understand that to be the solution going forward, but we can certainly get more information on that for you.
Okay. I'll stop my questions there for the time being.
All right, I have a question. When you say finding mercury in the marina, that almost implies that there was none at all. So was it just actually finding some, or you found it a level of mercury that was not acceptable?
I believe the mercury was found during the permit application process. DEC had requested some testing
Mhm.
and to determine if there was any contaminants or no contaminants, because
Yeah.
that was going to determine what would happen
Mhm.
with where the excavated material would go. But beyond that, we haven't been any part of that project. Again, we're just doing the erosion and sediment control inspections on behalf of the county to make sure the contractor's doing their best work.
I was just asking because it's my understanding there was always mercury in Onondaga Lake itself, and obviously the marina, that's an extension of it. The other thing, the agricultural spill response team, and that's a great thing. We're the only county that has it?
We are the only county in the state to do that, and it's something DEC would like to see across the state, but
Mhm.
it's got to be a drive and a commitment.
Right.
A lot of us who've worked at Soil and Water are first responders
Mhm.
in our communities with our fire departments and ambulance corps, and so that's kind of where the spill response program came from. There was one in 2000 at our board chairman's farm, and it was a catastrophic failure of a few redundancies in a system, and we realized we were able to keep the manure from getting into Fabius Brook, but we realized in that moment, boy, this could happen again. This happened on one of our best managed farms in the county.
Wow.
We need to be prepared. And so that's how the spill response program evolved. And then a lot of our staff have adopted it. And I know our funding agencies like City of Syracuse, Department of Water, and Aqua, and the county proper has been very grateful that there's service available. And we work closely with the DEC and the 911 center. So it's been a real example of tremendous stewardship, and it's something we should be really proud of here in central New York.
All right. We can't help every county out there, but are we able to help local ones like, Madison, other ones that are like, next to us if anything happens
Oh, yes,
and they need a
absolutely.
response?
Absolutely.
Great,
We're always
great.
available, and we want the same that everybody else wants, to have good water quality
All right.
time. So.
Right, and I think we received the answer, but as grandson, of some farmers, what do you look the overall health of the agricultural in the
I
county?
think we're on the cusp of something really, really big. We're motivated to be the top dairy producing country in the state, and with our yogurt plants and other milk ingredient plants going that are in and are about to be built. I think there's going to be something really exciting for agriculture. Probably the difference that we're going to see is some of our farmers age out and retire.
Mhm.
We're going to see more absorption of those farms and into our existing larger farms. So
Yeah.
probably our farms are going to get a little bigger.
Mhm.
But the great part is there's a vacuum out there. Is somebody says, geez, I want to sell, I want to retire. There's at least 6 farms bidding for
Yeah.
that land. So we're going to maintain our open space, and that
Good.
open space are those beautiful vistas that we get to enjoy every day.
That's a whole nother conversation. Thank you. Okay.
Mark, I know a lot of the work that you do obviously lives and dies with the grant process. Could you speak to the overall grant environment as it stands today and how much that affects the workload that you guys take on an annual basis?
So we are finding the grant process to be extremely competitive. If we fell below 75% success rate on grants, it was like, geez, we better retool our mousetrap here. And now it's kind of closer to 50%. So the pressure is really on to have the best applications. And part of having the best applications is being the most cost-effective application. So we're asking more of our local farm producers from financial contributions. Like just yesterday, we sent in 7 grant applications to the State of New York Environmental Protection Fund. And some of those applications were only asking for 50% cost share. So we're really trying to be lean and mean and make our applications as attractive as possible. We are looking to, and we have been looking to alternative sources of funding. And we typically focus on those funding sources where the juice is really worth the squeeze, where you write the application, you get the funding, and there's not a lot of administrative work. All the time and effort's going to getting the projects built and then closing that grant out and moving on to the next one. So we need to keep making sure we've got a really good mousetrap, that our grant writers in the office are doing their best job, and that we're supporting them at the highest level that we can. And that means for me keeping the distractions down so they can just focus on their work in that moment of writing the grants.
And how does that impact in terms of the work itself? So do you find that you have to pivot quite a bit as that fluctuates from year to year?
We do. When I look at all my staff members, I look at them as who they are and the work they do, but also who pays for that person.
Right.
And so some of our people are solely on the grant dollars. And so if we don't get those grants, it's up to me to come through with alternative sources of funding to keep them gainfully employed. And it's not uncommon for us to write 30 grant applications in a year. So it definitely keeps the pressure on, and that's why also we do fee-for-service work with our local municipalities. This winter, we took on quite a big workload. We're just finishing that up for some of them. So.
In regards to the ash trees, where are we with the ash trees? Are we almost done with this?
We are getting close to the end. In our conversations at the office, there's about 3 more years to get the original workload that was in the management plan completed. We've been able to do it under budget. We've been able to generate a little revenue through some timber sales in the past. And we do a lot of our removal work in the dead of winter. So our contractors, right now, everybody wants the contractors on the landscape, but they're not thinking about tree takedown in the winter. That's when we push in and can keep these tree companies busy. And that's how we're getting some of our best prices, is we're providing essentially year-round work for them. The local communities are funding them spring, summer, and fall. And we've got big bids going out for winter work. So it's been successful.
So you think about 3 more years on this project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned in your presentation, ash tree injection. I've never heard of that before. Can you tell me what that is?
So we use a systemic pesticide to inject the ash tree. That material gets translocated through the tree. And so as the beetles come and try to eat the leaves of the tree, they will succumb to the pesticide and die. And we don't use that everywhere. We just use it in key areas like our parks or other areas where we want those high functions and values that the trees to provide to be maintained. And so like our roadside trees, we're taking them down. There can be a hazard, if you go off the road, et cetera. So we're really focusing on places, like the trees around the Board of Elections and the county parks, stuff like that.
So that injection actually protects the tree.
Protects the tree, yes. Yeah, but the tree's got to be healthy. It's just like a human. The tree is like a human. It's got to be healthy enough to receive the treatment to be able to help it ward off.
And in regards to funding, you had mentioned in your presentation that you had received some funding from the city of Syracuse for a piece of equipment. What was that for?
That was for no-till planting equipment. So they funded a no-till drill and a no-till planter. And what I think it was like 17 years ago that program rolled out. What the city of Syracuse said, in particular for Skinny-Atlas Lake watershed and then for the other surrounding watersheds, was we want the farmers to be trying this modern technology, the state-of-the-art technology. We want them to use it on their land. If they have good results, we want them to move in that direction. So essentially what it does is, in the old days, you would plow a field, then you would disc a field, and then you would plant a field. This basically does it all in one pass. So you're saving, you're protecting the soil because you're disturbing less soil during the planting. You're protecting the atmosphere because you're not running the tractor across those fields 3 times. You're only running it across once. So you're saving carbon emissions and stuff like that in
Right.
the atmosphere.
And the reason why the city of Syracuse funded that project is probably because their water source is Skaneateles Lake.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then you mentioned you received some federal funding for another piece of equipment from the federal government. What equipment was that?
Yeah, that it came from Senator Mannion when he was a state senator, and so it was state funding for that sweeper vac for agricultural spill response. So if there's a fertilizer spill, we're able to go and pick that fertilizer up and take it back to the farm for reuse, as opposed to it getting washed off into the road ditch and down into the lake.
Understood. So that was state funding.
That was state funded, yeah.
Okay.
But I knew somebody would say, well, it's Congressman Mannion now, so I wanted to.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll be, all right. I'll be quick. Thank you. With the, your funding and the grants, you said that you get around 2.5 million, all right? That's a wonderful number, but how much is the total that you're applying for so we can see the proportion?
So last night when those grants went out at 4:30, I think we applied for so that 2.6 million was last year's number. Yesterday when we sent those grants out, I believe we applied for $3.2 million, and the farmers were contributing anywhere from 40 to 50% cost share on top of that. So it was probably around a $6 million total ask
That's
between the farmers' money and the state environmental protection fund money.
okay.
The Ag Council had some contribution in there. Aqua had some contribution in there as well, is leveraging funds.
Right, in the ash tree injection, how long have we been actually doing that?
That started
as a
around
county.
10 years ago.
Okay, then because it started 10 years ago, is anybody following that to see, you know, with these ash borer beetles generationally, are they evolving any, you know, resistance or anything? to some of that?
We are not finding that they have resistance. We're finding if the tree can stay healthy, you know, not get struck by lightning or wind damage, etc. The trees with an injection every 3 years have been able to ward off the beetles.
Okay, just wondering, like a cockroach, you never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
thank you.
Since we're talking about the tree injection, that one tiny question. Does that injection specifically only target the emerald beetle, the emerald borer? You know the beetle I'm talking about. Is it just targeted at, yes, thank you, that specific beetle, or is any other wildlife at risk if they were to consume the leaves?
We have not found any other wildlife to be at risk, and that was one of the early concerns, and that's why the governing body of the county 11 years ago took over a year to research and review and make sure that we were making good decisions that were going to target the pest but protect the rest of the natural environment.
Thank you.
I think that's all we've got. We do have a few more items to cover today, so thank you for your time.
Pleasure, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks, Mark.
Appreciate your time.
See you tomorrow.
for the answers.
And next up, we've got the Office of Water Environment Protection.
Our trees are juicing.
Need attention to.
All right, thank you for coming in. Deputy Executive Johnson, Commissioner Dyer, we have some items from WEP to go over to set down for public hearing, but before we get to that, I wanted to cover a couple of updates on Oak Orchard and on the sludge dryer.
So we're happy to update on CIP projects, which I think Commissioner will do.
Excuse me, could you use the mic?
Yeah, I thought I was.
Is that it?
I thought I was.
There's been some question about whether or not that's been on.
Okay. Better?
I think so.
So happy to give an update on Oak Orchard project, the municipal project, and also include in that progressive design build, which I think you asked for an update on that, which we did in the winter. Happy to do that again, and then happy to give a dryer update. So I think, why don't we let the commissioner do the CIP first? Would that be okay?
Okay, good, good, all right. So WEP has been very busy. We have been working on the 2026 CIP. I'm going to go down the list that we've been working on, starting with the Meadowbrook Limestone, Brewerton drum replacement. So this project in particular was consent order driven, and it is basically here we're doing it in order to help with reducing odors and improving reliability of the system.
Do you know which consent order that was?
I don't know the number
can-
off the top of my
okay.
head. We are also, we also have the wastewater transportation system improvement as part of our CIP this year. This includes trunk sewer improvements. This one is also a consent order driven, and it's pretty much based around overflow prevention. We have the Baldwinsville, Seneca Knolls, and Oak Orchard oxygen system. This project is built around increasing operational efficiency, also cost savings. We have our comprehensive asset renewal at Wetzel. That one is based around renewing aging infrastructure. As you all know, we're getting pretty up there in age for our treatment plants. Our Metro wastewater treatment plant 1978 annex renewal. This one is focused around the Harbor Brook pump station, and once again, updating aging infrastructure. Our department-wide building and site. Now this one is based around general repairs, right? So we're looking at roofs, paving, drainage on site, structural elements, things along that line. Our department-wide mechanical and electrical project that we have, once again, this one is department-wide, right? It focuses on replacing critical mechanical and electrical components within the department. Our comprehensive asset renewal at Metro, this one is replacing obsolete systems that are critical to our disinfection process, things that we don't want to fail and put us at risk. And overall, we're focusing on our consent orders, making sure that we are up to date on everything. We have our timelines that need to be met, and I'm proud to say we are on track with meeting all of our timelines.
So with the CIP stuff, I'm glad to hear that we're on schedule with the consent orders. Would you say the remainder of the projects are on schedule as well?
We'll say that, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
it's good to hear. What about from a budgetary standpoint? Are those things coming in budget up
Yes.
to this point?
Yes.
You said that you're on the timetable. The timeline is looking good. Can you give us a sense of that timeline? Specifically, I'm interested in number 2, the wastewater transportation system improvements, because I think that speaks to something we spoke about maybe 2 months ago when I was inquiring about the town of Geddes and the Bronson Road trunk distribution. You're going to do I believe you'd said at the time, an August inspection of the flow meter or a flow meter test.
Yep. The
Flow
study.
meter study.
Yep.
So can you speak to that a little bit in terms of the timetable for doing that?
Sure. Yeah, the timetable still stands. We're on track. We've been there's all of our studies that we've been not paying attention to, all of our studies that we've been doing, we have been paying very close attention to, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are staying true to our word as far as our timelines go.
And so that's a study that will be done in August? Is that when it's
Correct.
scheduled to be done? And could you just speak a little bit, like, what does that study entail?
So this study, it puts flow meters inside manholes and pipes, and what it does, it tracks the water as it goes past it, and it gives us a reading. That reading is just raw data. That raw data is then taken by an engineer and put into a report for us to look at and advise.
And so that would confirm, validate one way or the other the findings that residents are talking about in terms of like sewer backup into in their basements, things like that. That gives you something actionable to Well, if it finds that there is a problem there, what would be the next step for fixing that problem?
So the next step to fixing the problem will be our capital improvement projects, right? And it would be we use facts right now to build our CIP, but this is just another layer of facts that we would utilize in order to build out our CIP with more data.
Okay, so you get that data and you find that there is a problem there. What then becomes kind of like the timeline for remedying that? Does that depend on how bad the problem is? Does that depend on availability? Like in August, you find there's a problem. What next?
Yeah, I believe that would fully depend on the type of project that's necessary and the how bad it is, what level of um, I guess what level of risk we have.
How do you prior?
So there'd have to be a scope to it. So the engineers are going to have to get involved, take the data, really look at it in terms of scope, and then look at what our choices in terms of how to resolve and what would be next steps in terms of how the project would go.
Okay.
So, but the data is a critical part. Still can't hear. Okay. The data is the critical part.
That help?
Now
better?
better?
Okay. The date, yes. And then obviously I'm asking questions within my district because that's where I'm hearing it. How do you prioritize or triage where the focus needs to go?
So I'll jump in. So what we try to do is take it in consideration to the area and the impact, obviously, on our customers in terms of the residents. But that's hard to say priority in terms of, again, how long is that analysis and then the report and how many through the engineering, what's the recommendation going to be? And then where does that fall out in terms of CIP planning?
Okay.
But obviously, if it's an emergency, then it becomes a priority.
And I recognize that emergency is always relative because countywide there's one perspective, and if you're got stuff coming up in your basement, it's an emergency to you. So I just want to make sure that those folks are heard.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Just for a little bit more detail on some of these items, Meadowbrook was if I heard you correctly, that was an odor-driven issue.
It was consent order driven.
But with the
and
basis of that was,
the odor, yes,
Okay.
odor driven, yes.
can you describe the project a little bit, just how the project is going to address that concern in the consent order?
Sure, and you can find what I'm going to tell you
Sure,
here.
sure,
It's
sure.
within the CIP book as well. But basically, we have some tanks that are now when they were built, it was common engineering practice to leave them exposed, and so it's grates on top of the tanks instead of a hard cap. And part of the project is to put in hard caps in order to keep the odors down.
And then on the, could you just briefly describe the wastewater transportation system, what caused the consent order, how this is addressing it, and kind of the same question for that project?
Sure. So wastewater transportation system that basically discusses our pipes, right? The conveyance systems. This consent order was as a result of overflows in the past, and when we have pipes that are overflowing, we obviously want to take care of them. So we are going through where we've pinpointed specific pipes that need to be taken care of, and we're taking them up and either putting back in new pipes or trying to build in redundancies as well.
For Wetzel, I believe you had said this was age-driven. How, I mean, obviously it's great, it's good to replace older equipment. How old is the equipment we're working with? Could you just speak to the need for replacement there?
The age of Wetzel is escaping me off the top of my head, but if I remember correctly, it's somewhere in the 40-year range, right? So it's really it's time.
It's up there.
Yeah, yeah. And at the end of the day, it helps with the efficiency as well.
Something else that's in the CIP, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
We just, at the last, we discussed the exact age we discussed.
Exactly. Yes.
The last meeting.
At the last meeting. Mhm.
Thank you. Just said the meetings that you're installing in manhole. Sorry about that. Yes. Yes. Okay.
All right. The meters that you're installing in the manholes, can we assume that those will help you like read or monitor, flow or the overflow from like snow melt, runoff, overflows, and flooding? And using that either the flow or lack of that would help you to look at the areas that need that help or need that attention.
Yes, 100%. It tracks, it will essentially track what is going through the pipe, right?
Yes.
And that level of flow, whether it's in February and we have, snow, but we have infiltration, or whether it's, during the spring where it's raining or all of the above. But the reason why they take so long is that we need to capture a full year's worth of data.
Yes.
Because the flows are different during different parts of the year.
Yep. That's why I mentioned all. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any additional questions on these?
Can I ask, it's a question beyond the scope of what we're talking about immediately. I'm just wondering if either of you would be able to share any additional insights. You heard me asking Director Berger about the mercury found in Onondaga Lake. I wonder if you can shed any additional insight on how it was discovered, how much, the way that it's being remedied. Are you able to speak to that?
I heard the conversation. It really should be our Office of Environment, Elizabeth
Okay.
Martin, who's director, and Parks. They had been the people directly involved in that.
Okay.
And have worked closely with the DEC, which I think I heard Mark comment on.
Great.
Yeah. So I think Elizabeth's coming to the next meeting.
I believe she's coming to either, I think we have her scheduled for the next,
May.
if, I believe it's, I'll have to check. She'll be here in either May or June, and we'll have, we can talk about who else we may want to.
And you said Commissioner Kelly of Parks and Rec?
Because of it's the marina.
Okay.
As part of that project.
I believe I'll see him in my next committee meeting, so I can maybe bring it up then. Thank you.
Let's see. I believe if that's all the questions we have in the CIP projects, WEP is looking for a resolution on this for a public hearing. Okay.
There was more on the informational
Are we-
piece, right? We still, were we going to discuss Oak Orchard and the other things that you referenced? Yeah.
Okay.
Before we move on.
So Oak Orchard, and again, we have to be careful here because we are on all four components of the project. We are in RFP stage, so we never get into detail discussion where RFPs are in play, out, still in process. But I will tell you that all projects are pretty much on schedule. They say pretty much because they're in process right now. And those projects are the substation, the outfall pipe, the bridging project, which we refer to as the MOPO, and the true upgrades project component of the project, which I think we've mentioned before is the big part of the project. It's about 80% of the total project. And that's the upgrades of the infrastructure. And as Commissioner said, these are old plants. The Oak Orchard plant was built in 1981. So Kevin, you're right. When we talked about the dates in the past, these are aging infrastructure. So all four are on pace to where we thought they would be. All four are in progressive design build process, as we mentioned before, which was part of the amendment through the New York State budget last year. That process will guide us through the RFP process. Still not working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just speak a little louder.
Louder. Oh my God, nobody ever tells me louder. So at this point, I think there are no concern points as we go through the Oak Orchard project. And that's
Do we
really
have
where we are.
dates on getting those back to the county?
So, and again, I want to be careful. Yeah, all in process, all will occur hopefully throughout 2026. Other questions?
Um, I'm over here behind you in the nosebleeds.
Ah.
So can we speak to PLAs or design build language at the state or any of those aspects of this project, or is that?
So I can't speak to the PLA as part of the RFP because again, those are in process. If you read in the amendment, we are required to do a feasibility study that will tell us PLA, and that's part of design build.
Let's see, and
And then, there's a few things obviously in the state budget that are getting worked on, has there been any movement on like the Codnoy Dam or any of that stuff, or?
I'm not aware that's in the budget,
Okay.
in New York State budget, but I don't
Okay.
deal with that
Okay.
with the New York State budget, so I'll let someone else comment.
All right.
quickly on permitting, on that, I think just if you want to go over the Speedies permit that, I believe that would just went through, or recently went through.
The renewal of the Speedies permit at Oak Orchard came through, I think it's a week ago. Quite frankly, we're still going through it. And that's a renewal of an existing permit. Air permit also came through for the project. And I think we are waiting for one more series of permits to come through from DEC. But again, that's all on schedule. Other questions? Oak Orchard? No? Okay.
All right, if we could cover the sludge dryer while
Dryer?
we've got you
Sure.
here.
Commissioner's going to do that.
Okay, so the dryer went active beginning of March, and it has been running well. That is a positive thing that we can say. I have to give a big shout out to my team. I mean, they have been learning on the fly. It's been pretty impressive. And they've been keeping the building optimized, right? And just really staying on top of it. So I'm really proud of my team. I want to give them a shout out here. We have realized some savings. We cannot currently say more than that because of pending litigation, but things are going well so far.
Not on the money piece, but in terms of the raw, let's say, weight. Do you have any percentages or I guess the scope of how effective those machines have been?
The weight is less.
We're going the right direction. That's
Going in the
good.
right.
Yeah.
So the savings are up and the weight is down.
Correct.
Okay.
In general terms, yes.
In general,
general.
terms. Are you still monitoring the air quality outside of the facility? Because that was, if I can remember correctly, that was the red flag that was.
Sure. So the air quality is dying on me.
Yeah, here.
All right. Better. Okay. Yeah. So the air quality, that's going to be a constant thing, right? It will be a continuously monitored situation, right? When it comes to the employees, we want to make sure that we are taking care of them and being as safe as possible. So it's not just a one-time situation.
And so, obviously, weight is down, savings up, air is safe. Can you be more specific in terms of the overall quality of the air, in terms of how well the filtration is working, and just how the situation has been improved?
Well, I can say that before we opened the building, we went through a series of engineering fixes and mechanical fixes, and the data has shown that we've done a great job there in making it safe for us to open. Since then, we've also focused on obviously making PPE and things along that nature available to the staff. And like I said, we're just continually trying to pay attention to it and listening to the staff and the employees and hearing what they have to say and making sure that we're being good stewards.
Thank you.
And if I remember, these things are being monitored in real time, correct? Everybody's wearing monitors. Have there been any issues, any any alarm bells going off with any of those devices?
Thankfully, no alarm bells have gone off on any of our devices. Yeah, so they are continually monitoring. Each person that goes into the building is required to have a monitor, and that is normal for across our entire department. Right, we have different buildings that have that requirement.
Just best practice?
Best practice, yes.
We do still have some ground to cover on the agenda, so if you
And
want-
let me just say, I think Commissioner Dyer's done a good job of also throughout WEP and really studying process, making safety a priority as they go forward through just more attention to safety practices, SOP in those areas. So there's a lot of attention being put there.
If I remember, was that one of the newer positions that we created in the department? Was somebody in that safety oversight role? Has that position been filled?
Yes. Yes, the position has been filled and with good results, right? And I have been in close contact, close communication with our health and safety director.
I think we all mutually agreed at our last meeting that we need to continue to make safety the utmost priority, so I'm glad to hear that steps are being taken on that front.
Right. We do still have some ground to cover, so I think we were looking for a resolution on the public hearing. If you could speak to that.
Okay, so the resolution on the public hearing. So, yeah, a resolution calling a public hearing in connection with the proposed improvements for the Onondaga County Sanitary District. So that refers to the projects that I mentioned earlier for the 2026 CIP. There was a public hearing held, and you will see there are some, there should be some documents that were sent to you as well. And that's pretty much the extent of it. It was open to the public,
And my understanding is we're looking at May 18th at 3 p.m. For that public hearing, and I believe that would be in this room. Do I have a motion to set the? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Public hearing set. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you ever see Men in Black? Remember the chair he drags across the floor? That's you with the microphone.
There is not today. Next up, we've got Scott Butler from DOT for a presentation about I-81.
I was gonna say, when I was in District 2, Mike is hot, so, yeah, there it is right there.
I'm Elizabeth Parmley. I'm the regional director here with New York State Department of Transportation.
My name's Mike. I'm Mike Ryan. I'm with the ID1 project. I'm the deputy director.
And my name is Scott Butler. I'm a special assistant with the ID1 project team.
Thank you, everyone. I'm not sure if you're, well, if there's any ground you would be able to cover while we're getting this set up.
I think we can.
I'll ask you guys to take.
I
a
think-
Sure.
look and-
Yeah.
We can start to cover some ground and then
Okay.
click through pretty quickly as we get to it.
Not sure who the best person to
Oh,
hold
we're
that
going to
guy
do a
would
little,
be.
so we'll do a little tag team approach. So I'll kick us off and then I'll hand it off to Scott and then Mike and then back to me. So just to kind of kick us off, we're here to give you an update about the I-81 viaduct project. So clearly it is underway. It is in construction. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. No, just that this will be of interest to
Should I stop?
I think you can
you.
go
Please
ahead.
keep going.
Go ahead.
Okay. The project is currently in construction. We've been in construction since 2023, and we have over $1 billion worth of construction ongoing and 5 contracts under construction. We are in procurement in 2 more contracts, total of 9 contracts, and this is the largest infrastructure project in New York State DOT history, I think. So we'll briefly kind of go over where we are today. There are things wrapping up, there are things still in process, and then what we have to look forward to, and then answer any questions. So
Yeah, so we broke the contracts up into 2 phases, 9 contracts total, 5 in the first phase, 4 in the second phase. So we're in the middle of phase 1, okay? So contract 1 was in the Cicero, North Syracuse area, where we were converting 81 and 481 to Business Loop 81 and 81. We're on track with that, incorporates parts of the CSX bridge. We're on track there. We've opened a few pieces of infrastructure. So 481 South to 81 South is now currently up and operating. We have both of our roundabouts in full operation. Hopefully pavement markings coming shortly. The new interchange that we created at East Glen Avenue, which is in front of Loretto, all 4 legs of that are currently open as well. As it relates to the DeWitt part of the project, we have more or less Linden Corners. We added a lane heading eastbound on 92 towards Manlius, and we also did some improvements where we condensed all of the southbound traffic. Instead of weaving across the bridge, we put them into one exit at exit 3, formerly exit 3, now exit 86, with a triple left heading eastbound there. That project is on track. We hope to have the CSX bridge done and completed this fall. Hopefully it stays on track with that. As it relates to contract 3 is in the Inner Harbor area, dealing with 81 southbound. I'm getting handed this, so I'll try to click through it and get us caught up. So, we just incorporated a few photos. So just going backwards, as you guys can see, this is fully built out looking to the south. So when you're on current 81 heading to the city of Syracuse, you'll have 2 choices. Currently, we're heading you over until we change the designation of 481 to 81. Currently, you're heading over to the left, you'd be heading southbound to 481 South, and to the right, you'll be heading to the future business loop heading into downtown. And then obviously we bring traffic up over the current configuration. So basically north and southbound is underneath heading towards what is now 481, which will soon be 81. Another quick photo of that overhead. So we took 481 and we will take it up over 81, heading towards Oswego, towards Fulton, towards the rest parts of Clay, and Route 31 there. This is the South Bay Road Bridge. Do not think that this is open, because it is not. We are still finishing up some of the work on it. It's a photo from over the winter when we had it in 2 lanes going, so we could help traffic move during the wintertime and help with plowing. One of the things, and it's not really seen in this photo, that because this is environmental protection, I think it would be helpful for all of you to know. One of the things we did a part of this contract was bring Mud Creek back to its natural size. Obviously, when the highway was built originally, it was condensed and put through corrugated pipe. We actually brought it back to its original size to help with flow, flooding, and so on, but also for resiliency in the future, and help the habitat, obviously. Moving to contract 2, like I mentioned before, so you can see some of the infrastructure. This is looking to the north. You can see some of the infrastructure is coming in. That new connection, that seems like an old connection, but it is a new connection from 81 northbound to 481 northbound. That has been complete, so there's a little bit more flow there. Hopefully coming this summer, we'll have that former connection that was from 81 south to 481 north, future 81 north. That will be back online sometime in June, we hope for. Here's that East Glen intersection I mentioned before. So this is a full interchange. So this is a new connection for the Valley neighborhoods and so on and so forth in that area to reconnect to Brighton Avenue and Loretto and help traffic find their way a little bit easier. Here's just a picture of how we staged the work for the Brighton Avenue roundabouts and the Brighton Avenue bridge replacement. So we replaced this bridge. One of the ways we decided to do that and I understand that this is going to sound like an oxymoron, but one of the ways we tried to mitigate traffic and not interrupt as much was by staging the work. And so we were able to, with these roundabouts, move the skew of the bridge over to one side so we could keep Brighton Avenue open throughout the construction of the new bridges. This now back to contract 3, our inner harbor. This is where we're bringing 81 southbound into the city of Syracuse. We're replacing 3 bridges as a part of this contract. Bear Street, Court Street, and Spencer Street. Spencer Street is currently open. We hope to have Bear Street open by Memorial Day. We currently have Court Street out. One of the things about Court Street to understand, it used to skew across, and now we are straightening it and putting it right through between Harborview Liquors and Cedric Furniture to connect to North Clinton. One of the other things a part of this contract, as you can see in this map, we're completely reconstructing and rebuilding North Clinton Street to be a new city street, moving cars from basically where you get off at the service road or the mall or from Bear Street and being able to, in a future contract, connect to Butternut Street. This also, the teal line, for everybody here, the teal line is actually a shared use path that we've been constructing and implementing across North Clinton Street. This will also be finished as a part of another contract, contract 7, that'll come in a future. The yellow is parking that we're reestablishing in certain parts of the area. I'm going to click to the next slide because we split it in half. So as you can see, the new on and off ramps that we have in the southbound direction connecting to Clinton Street, kind of getting rid of those slip ramps that we had at Gannett and Spencer and Catawba and so on and so forth to create safety and better improve people's movements. Just a quick shot of what we're looking at going. This is looking southbound. Those are those new on and off ramps that we have in operation now. You know, I'll just click back really quick. One of the things that'll happen as a part of the finish of the Bear Street bridge is we'll have a new signalized intersection that kind of connects Clinton Street, the service road from the mall, as well as Bear Street, kind of getting rid of those little slips that you had on Gannett and other places in the past. We're also making improvements along Bear Street to improve the connection to 690 heading east and west. So that's our contract 3. This is contract 4. This is where we're starting the process of creating new on and off ramps at both Krause and Irving Avenue. This contract concentrates on the Krause side of that. So we have a new on ramp heading eastbound from Krause Avenue today that replaced McBride. In the future, we'll have a new off ramp to Krause Avenue on 690 West that will replace the Townsend exit. We're also converting Krause and Irving to two-way from more or less 690 all the way up to Adams Street. That's some of the work that I think a lot of people have seen us doing throughout last year and into this year. So here's just a depiction of looking over the top of it. So the future contract, contract 6 that Mike will talk about, will start to create those connections at Irving Avenue. We're finishing up the connections at Krause so we can have a full interchange there. Here's our contract 5, which is in the heart of the south side. This is where we're building a new roundabout at Van Buren. And this is actually where we will, this is a contract that will be a part of the first stages of removing the actual viaduct. So as you can see today, that grassy area, and actually this animation will show you. So as you can see, there's 81, the old Wren Wick, the old Fine View in the back, a railroad, Syracuse Housing's old administrative warehouse and maintenance garage. So we are in the middle of reconstructing and building out the roundabout at Van Buren. So here's just a shot of the work. Obviously, some of the removals, the closure of Renwick to facilitate some of that work, the removal of the Fineview Bridge, which would facilitate us being able to bring the viaduct down, starting at Colvin Street, bringing it down to grade, and it traveling into the city of Syracuse. And this is what we plan to have as the final result in this contract. Got a lot of work happening here. Obviously, we've tried to mitigate some of the traffic patterns and find new ways for people to go. Obviously, there's a lot of work to be done here. We're moving a railroad track. We're doing new sewer and water in this area, as well as creating a new roundabout. Go ahead. You can stop me anytime.
I'm going to need to ask you to move. We do have another meeting starting in a few minutes.
Okay.
If we can go through the next couple of.
You got it. I'm gonna pass it to Mike, and we're gonna do contract 6, which is coming. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, thank you.
So this is contract 6 that we have coming up soon. This is currently in procurement. This really is the replacement of 690. So this, like I said, this is contract 6. This is the replacement of 690. So on the picture that you see here, everything in green is getting replaced. So it's essentially 690 from Leavenworth Ave all the way out to Irving Ave. We're picking up we're picking up the replacement where contract 4 is leaving off, because they're also replacing that portion of 690 going through there. So in order to do that work, we will need to detour 690 eastbound for about 1.5 years, and there's a massive amount of infrastructure that we're replacing. So there's multiple 3,000-foot bridges that's going to get replaced, and then additional 1,000-foot long bridges too, another 2 of those, because they're ramps entering and exiting 690. So we'll also be working on the Butternut Street Bridge, but as well for connections wise. So north of Butternut Street, high-speed roadway like it is today, and then there will be a ramp to connect from 81 or Business Loop 81 southbound to 690 eastbound, and also from 690 westbound, 81 northbound. Those connections remain the same. We'll have a modified ramp at Pearl Street to accommodate all the traffic, and then we'll build out Oswego Boulevard. It's going to connect into Erie Boulevard, and then there's the Business Loop and an access point to downtown. So we also have contract 6A. This is where we're building some stormwater infrastructure. So it's about 1 mile along underground culvert, essentially. So it's a 8x12 culvert. It starts at about Almond Street, goes through the city along that purple line. So it's carrying all of the stormwater that we collect while we're for our new roadway infrastructure. We're also replacing or reconstructing many streets during all of this work, and we're taking a complete streets look at as we're reconstructing all of these roadways. So this slide just has it's an overview of what we're doing. So I'll just hit on a couple of the highlights. So I'm
going to have to ask you to move through to the next couple of slides. I'm really sorry.
Okay. So I think the most important part, and I'll have Mike click to it, is one of the things that gets lost a little bit in all the roads and bridges is, and obviously probably the main antithesis of our asking to be here today, is one of the things we're doing across all of our contracts is separating the sewer system within the city of Syracuse and for Onondaga County. So as many of you know, we have a combined sewer system in the county system. So anywhere where we're crossing, we are separating that sewer. And here's a good demonstration of where we're adding new trunk lines to carry stormwater out and remove that from what's in the combined system today. So all told, with all of our contracts, we plan to be able to remove about 85 million gallons of water that's going into Metro today that's being treated that we would define as possibly clean or just runoff. We will be removing that from the system, also improving the quality of Onondaga Creek as well as Onondaga Lake. And I think one more photo just showing, that's the trunk line. And if you click one more time, Mike, these are some of the health protections we've put in place, obviously protecting the community from a lot of our construction and so on and so forth.
Right, I think that's all the time that we're going to.
Okay.
Any questions? Yes, legislator Maker.
Just a quick comment. That was a very informative. Seriously, that was really informative. It's unfortunate you guys got cut off short.
Okay.
Because I don't. It doesn't matter. But that was very informative. I thank you for that bit of knowledge. Is there a way that I could get emailed that?
Yeah, of course, of course.
I'm terribly sorry to.
You're okay. No, we shared it with the clerk earlier, but we can follow up, and I'll share it with the chair, and you guys can look through it and ask any questions you have afterwards if that's no, not a problem.
And I'm going to continue to plug, which I've done throughout this process. There's a lot of words with old 81 and
Yes,
new loop
yes.
and old and new 81. So
Yes.
if I could just get this in either virtual reality or video game form so I can see it from my windshield, because I
Okay.
think that's going to be the thing that makes the most sense
Yep.
to me.
Okay.
But just thinking out loud here.
Work on that.
I gotta go.
We have 2 minutes until the next meeting.
Air quality, and email it, I was working with somebody that works with you, air quality monitoring, he said that, I guess, now that we're working on a public website or something, where we can look at,
Yeah, so we currently have, I think, over 9 air quality monitors installed, and we will be putting quarterly reports up on our website. So we're just in process of doing that.
The other thing is, just check, have you done any, computer model, the roundabout Van Buren Renwick, when moving day? Because they live in the area, they double park and
Right.
everything, it's like right at the bottom. So did you do any, model, speak to SU, because that's coming?
Yeah, we work with SU. We meet with them biweekly, monthly to talk about how traffic flows, whether it's during construction or in the final layout, and they're prepared. We're prepared. So the models show different traffic pattern, but it will work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.